Okay, so first of all, nope. I just can't. What I'm going to tell you in a few seconds, and secondly, I'm not even gonna try to make this review right in a proper fluid way because I will ramble on because actually this comes together with the first thing, because since I'm so late with the Samsung Galaxy Note 8 review, I wanted to do things a little bit different, and that different was to make the detailed part as objective as I can, and then later on give you my obvious subjective opinion. But then I had to admit to myself that I simply can't separate being completely objective from being completely subjective. And actually, in my opinion, this is the right way, because let's be honest, at the end of the day, a review is always just someone's opinion, and you can't really be completely objective about things like the design and build and the display, because everyone prefers different things. So I'm not gonna try to hide that I'm subjective. I never did, and I just want to make this clear, because when I am, you will definitely notice I am subjective. But I will do my best, at least in the important part, to give you also my objective opinion, because then you will get, I think, the whole picture. What someone is me in that case, thinks about the phone, and what you should just generally expect from this phone. So let's just try this and see what happens. Okay, let's get into the first thing, design and build quality, and I don't think this should be objective, and I think it can't be, because I think there will be like 70 people out of 100 which will say this phone looks great, and then there are 30% of the people or the population which will say no, it's not. And that's absolutely fine in my opinion. So the first thing, this phone is huge, because not just in comparison to a compact phone, which is though a chunky compact phone, but in general, because as you can see, it is big. After all, it is a 6.3 incher. But what I've actually noticed today, I checked the dimensions, which is something that I usually never do, because I was just curious, and I noticed that this phone is just about as wide as a regular 5.5 incher, even though we have 6.3 inches here. Of course, there are differences to be considered, because this is using 18.5 by 9 instead of 16 by 9, which is more classic. And this just makes the phone, in my opinion, noticeably taller than any normal phone. And this is just something I personally, and I'm just saying this subjectively, don't like so much, because it looks so off. This looks right, this looks a little bit off to me. Okay, I agree. Things like the super small bezels, even though they are just curved towards the side, look impressive, and it is a great design, and it looks impressive. Yes, absolutely. But in normal day use, being so tall, I just think that it's top heavy and it just looks a little bit awkward, and it's a little bit harder to be actually used. In terms of one hand, the usability, actually, due to being so narrow, it works out quite fine until you reach the part that you can't read, which is also, for example, on the fingerprint reader, because this is so high up top, and if I use my phone like this, as you can see, I'm so far away, and that's why I did use this as a backup, but usually I just stick with face unlock, and I think it actually works super nice. Iris I did not like so much, because you have to look straight into it, and not the biggest fan of it. But there are definitely things that I just have to give this phone. In terms of build quality, feels solid, it feels nice, and yes, I know some people would say, but wait, you said the S8 felt like a toy and it felt cheap and hollow. But for some reason this does not feel as much. It still feels a little bit almost too lightweight, just doesn't have this quite premium heft that I like. It could feel like this is real glass, and I know it's Gorilla Glass, but it feels for me, especially the 5 or the Gorilla Glass 5, more like plastic, and this is still a thing. It attracts, of course, a lot of fingerprints, but they're actually really far or easy back, of course front as well, so I like the in-hand feel kinda, but I'm not blown away by it, especially since we also have some little bit odd design elements, because why do we have a flat part here and then two curves? Why is this not a whole curved part? Because I think this would have made the whole feel a little bit more organic. I know it sounds wrong, but a little bit more comfortable in the hand. It feels a little bit weird, but that's just my opinion. Now, what is definitely objective, as you can see here, flush. So fingerprint reader and everything else is totally flush, which is great to see. Also the microphone here, SD card and SIM card tray. Okay, this is maybe subjective, maybe objective, but it's the volume rocker position, because I always prefer it on the right side where the power button is, and I think actually this one is not just, in my opinion, a little bit too high, but just in general, because I kinda by now see an average, and the average is this and maybe a little bit higher, and we are quite far off. So it's a little bit higher. Since it is a tall phone, I guess you will get used to it. And it's not a real problem, but the thing is the volume rocker. Because if I play games, this is where I have my fingers, and I, by accident, touch those quite often. The Bixby button is fine. You can disable it by now, but actually I have to say I'm okay with Bixby. I actually used it a few times. It's fine. The buttons do rattle a little bit, but just minimally. It's normal, absolutely fine. Since they're so thin, it's okay. Here we have the speaker, the microphone, the USB Type-C port, and the headphone jack, and of course, the big thing here, the kind of unique thing about it, the S Pen, which I will get into a little bit, but not too much later on. Now, we have a notification LED, we have on-screen buttons, we have quite small bezels everywhere. So it is a very compact phone for sure. Now, like I said, I will rather stick with face unlock, so let me get it to my face. And it is unlocked, and it works quite okay. It's quite convenient, but it's definitely not as fast as a proper fingerprint reader would be. So face unlock works good, but it's not nearly as fast as it should be. I think we should get to the display, and I'm not gonna even try to say anything bad about it, because I have to admit it is an absolutely killer display, and you should, in my opinion, still use it with WQHD Plus, because I think why not? Because if you buy a phone with this resolution, you should use it at this resolution. Now, about the display. I did actually enjoy this time adaptive display a lot, because it's not as oversaturated as it was in the past. And the most important part, it does not hide the details in darker situations as much as it did before. So I'm actually very pleased. Of course, you can still calibrate it, use cinema, basic and so on. But I like this one just the most. And you still can change the color temperature, which is totally nice to see. Now, viewing angles are totally stable. The black, of course, with the contrast is amazing. Colors, I gotta say now, look amazing. It's super sharp, and this is an impressive display. And I would actually go easily as far as saying, yes, this is the best display you can get on the market. Usually I always complained about the calibration being too heavy, but I can't this time. Now, about the brightness, this is the weird thing. I think you need auto modus and you need the bright thing for it to get to the maximum, I think 1300 nits. If I use this normally in manual mode though, with the maximum brightness, just here, I didn't get over 620. And this is, I mean, lux, not nits, so don't get this mixed up, because lux is something a little bit different. And 620 lux on AMOLED display actually not that impressive. Because I gotta say, actually, even with 100% outdoors, so not using the manual where it maybe boosts more, it wasn't the very brightest screen out there. It was absolutely usable, absolutely no problem, but it wasn't as impressive as numbers should tell you. Maybe some people get a little bit fooled by the high nit number, at least for me who uses the manual mode. But let's get to the speaker finally. Okay, this now is one of two parts where I'm just gonna say this is not on a flagship level, because the speaker, yes, is loud, but it does not sound very good. It sounds quite tinny, it sounds a little bit muffled, it just doesn't have any feel of high quality and high clarity, so that's definitely something I'm missing. It's okay, but for a phone that costs as much as this one, I definitely expect more. So this is definitely one of two parts that they should improve the next time. It's totally fine, it's not a deal breaker or anything like that, but it should be better. Headphone jack though, totally fine. Really loud, really good. We have an equalizer system-wide, we have some extra options and so on. All top, all top. Now let's get into the performance, kill all the apps real quick and check the launch times. And as you can see, yes, it's fine. Animations actually feel a little bit longer, even though I have them already at 0.5. They feel super smooth though, I gotta give it to that. But yeah, it doesn't feel as snappy as actually in the past, or maybe like my S7, but it feels very fluid, which is nice to see. And also due to the AMOLED screen, of course, we get this fluid vibe. Even though I have to say, I still see, and yes, some will maybe agree, some won't, but I see some little bit of nervous scrolling still. It feels almost a little bit oversensitive when you scroll and then let go. Then you see some little bit of jitter in some apps. Most people won't ever care, and most people won't ever notice. Due to having used all the flagship these days, I just see this. It is a total flagship, but I would not put it on the exact same level as an HSU 11, a Nokia 8, maybe a OnePlus, or maybe on a OnePlus 5 level, because that has the jitters as well, or something like a Mi 6. It feels a little bit behind. Not much, and yes, a lot of people will agree, but also, I mean disagree, but I know also a lot of people will agree with me, or will at least say that the device will slow down with time. I can't really judge that, because I definitely did not use it as long. I gotta say, from my experience, I did not ever notice that on my S7. A lot of people see that, but so far it seems fast, multitasking seems great. It is a total top performer, but still, I would not put it on the exact same level. So if you want the fastest possible, the most fluid, the most consistent phone, this is very, 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 very close. And no one would actually, or at least no one, that's not me, would say it's not the case. But I still think there are snappier phones, like for example Sony phones. There are more fluid phones, like for example Nokia or maybe Pixel phones and so on. This is doing a totally top job, but there are some smaller things like this middle bit of jitteriness that I know a lot of people will bash me now, but I see those. I have very sensitive eyes to that, but that's it. It won't break it, it won't at all, and if you want, it is still a flagship, so don't get me wrong in that part, but it's not the very, very best of their flagships. Gaming performance are totally fine, I'm not going far into that. Super smooth, all great, all top, it warms up a little bit, but it's fine. Now, a full charge about that, 1 hour and 25, that is super impressive. Also, the YouTube brain was good, but here is where the second part comes in, where I just don't think this is not a proper flagship. This is more a sprinter, but not a runner. Because the thing is, on Wi-Fi, I got about 5, maybe 5.5 hours, which is still actually quite good, but mobile data, and I have to make this obvious. This is the Exynos version, and so far on every Samsung phone that I've used on mobile data with an Exynos, I had poor data drain. And I'm not quite sure why, but I got about 3 hours, maybe 3.5. I know that sounds super poor and everyone might say this is off and so on, but it actually is in line because I did not get much more, pretty much the same on the S8, a little bit better on the S8 Plus, which is to be expected, but it is poor. Now, I don't know why exactly I have this issue. I know it's not an amazing battery life phone anyways, but why I'm so poor in terms of battery on mobile data, I don't know. I know that I think at least some people say this, Exynos phones seem to have worse data drain for modem issues and so on, or modem reasons. I don't know. I can already just narrow it down to what I see, and this is what I see. So I would call it a sprinter because it delivers you a great performance and a great overall experience for a shorter amount of time. But at least it charges Quest, so yeah. Okay, I'm not quite sure where this is going, so let's unlock once again. Okay, and get to the software. We have the app drawer. If we swipe, which is actually a little bit weird because when I swipe, I'm usually used to swiping now through the icons like this, but you have to do it sideways. So that's something a little bit weird. I'm not quite sure if that had to be the case, but yeah. Otherwise, quick settings, they are customizable, and what I'd still like is a lot the theming engine, because I think Samsung is pretty much one of the very best theming engines. In terms of software, I'm running, what am I running? Of course, 7.1.1, still with 8.5, and even though they don't call it TouchWiz anymore, I don't know why they still call the launcher the TouchWiz launcher, just saying, not judging. Now, in terms of display, I've already talked about it, you have the screen resolution options, screen modes, of course the size, home screen, full screen apps, even though that work completely fine, LED indicator, navigation bar can be changed, but for some reason there is no black option anymore, which is really, really weird, but if you can see that, it just does not switch to black. And therefore I used actually the app navbar apps, because this one actually in theory should have given me that back again. I had it working already, so not quite sure why that is not the case, but of course, like I said already, this is a thing. So you can of course also change the button layout, you can make them completely visible, and I did that wrong. As you can see, no buttons at all. If you want them back, swipe up and then double tap to make it a fixed thing again. But this is pretty much that. Screen timeout, this is all normal. And block accidental touches, I actually did not even turn it on. Okay, this is just to turn the screen on. But palm rejection is actually fine, I had no problems with that. In terms of advanced features, S Pen, let's talk a little bit about that before I actually forget it, because I would have. Of course, you have so many S Pen features, and I could go on and on about it, but here's just the crux from my standpoint. You have a lot of options, like also, for example, if the screen is off, to make notes. And all this is fine and dandy, but I'm a lefty, I write really weird anyways, so I don't really know what else to say. I gotta admit, the S Pen works great, it feels actually quite natural, it feels quite convenient, it's great. It's a little bit small, yes, and you get a lot of extra features, and this is all great, but it really comes down to if you actually need those, if you have any sort of use for it. I personally did not really ever use the S Pen. I just don't know what else to do. Yes, we have gestures, quick launch, multi-window and all that, and it is for everyone who kind of needs this kind of input method definitely the only option. And that's why I don't really need to get into that. If you ever use the S Pen, if you know you will use it, if you know you need it, there is no discussion. Get this phone, because there is no alternative. So why even talk about it? There are a ton of features that I don't want to really get into, because it would just completely blow up this review, making it a half an hour long, which I could do. I have no problem with that, but I know no one really cares about them, because the thing is about the Note, actually a review is not necessary. Because if you want a Note, you definitely know you want a Note. And it's not, should I get it or maybe not? Because if you don't need the S Pen, if you don't need that extra, you could just go with any other Samsung phone or whatever you want. So yeah, that's just my opinion. Updates and so on. I gotta say, actually, from my experience, Samsung gives quite solid, quite quick updates. So I don't know why everyone always says Samsung is so far behind and so on. If you just put into consideration what an amount of extra features they put in on, they're actually quite quick, and I actually like that. I had no problems ever with my S7 in terms of updates. I never got sluggish, it never got slower for me, so yep. Camera. Now, front-facing camera. Wow. Amazing. Due to the autofocus, super sharp, super detailed, great colors. I just have to tell you, this is an amazing front-facing cam. I absolutely will give it the best remarks in overall experience, because there is no front-facing cam where the autofocus works that well, where the pictures look that great without any hassle in auto mode. Of course, maybe if you want to go into manual mode and things, we will discuss that a little bit later, but I gotta say, wow, absolutely killer selfies. And if I would give much into that, I would be impressed, especially with the front-facing cam. Because I think if you are a blogger or something like that, or if you use your phone a lot to use the front-facing camera for video, I think there's pretty much no other option. Because as you can see here, nice background blur, but you are usually mostly in focus. The microphone is great, and even as you can see here with normal lighting in my room here, absolutely top. I absolutely love this front-facing cam. I just don't see another option. It's absolutely killer. As you can see, the autofocus works great. Yeah, I'm not going any further. Now, low light. I was already a big fan of the S7 low light capabilities, also S8, and you can see here once again, it delivers. Even without the flash, super sharp, very bright pictures, very sharp pictures, almost no grain. And I would just say, at least from my knowledge, from my experience, I don't know any phone with a better low light cam. I just think it's amazing, especially in auto mode. You don't need to do anything, you get great pictures all the time. Outside, now there are some people that might say there are better cameras out there, but for me the auto mode is important, and I don't know any better auto mode experience, because pictures always are spot on. Maybe not always accurate in terms of colors, but I don't care. They look just impressive, sharp, killer, since there is no shutter lag. Great, super fast autofocus, sharp pictures, top. What else do you want? So if anyone would not be 100% satisfied with this cam, I don't really know. Something must be wrong with you, because which phone will give you better results as a whole experience, I mean. Yes, manual mode, maybe something like the V30 will give you more options, more capabilities. But let's be honest, how many people actually care about these? The pro modes here are still way more than enough. Now, 4K, also absolutely killer. As you can see here, there is pretty much no artifacting going on. Actually, no at all. The autofocus in 4K is almost a little bit too quick, as you can see here, the jump. But very nice, super sharp picture. And as you can see here, it's also, okay, that lag was not, that was my PC, I guess, because the footage I've checked it's fine. Quite nicely stabilized. Top autofocus here. Great pictures. I don't know what Samsung does, but I think they are like 1 or 2 levels ahead of the competition in terms of video. I don't know, because someone yesterday asked me what he should pick up in terms of a good video, a great actually video cam. And I told him, get the S7, because he wanted something cheap. Because Samsung, even the S7, had such great video. Now, 1080p with 60 frames is a little bit different, because, of course, 60 frames and sharp and smooth and all. Of course, not 4K sharp, but here's the thing. The autofocus is noticeably slower. So in case you care for a really good autofocus, I think you should just stick with 30 frames, either in 4K or 1080p. Because I like what I see here, but the autofocus was a little bit something that I did not like so much. Now, what I'm going to do now is give you my summary, but I will do it out of my head, not prepared. So I will just give you the categories that I usually have. And I want to quickly go into all of these and do this now, subjective or objective, see it as what you want to see. Build. It's not the very best, at least not in terms of in-hand feel. There are phones that feel a little bit more premium, but there is nothing wrong with it. The build quality is great, just not the premium feel. That's fine. Design, now, objectively, it's very compact. Subjectively, I think it's too tall, but it feels good in the hand, so okay. Fingerprint reader works good. There are definitely better ones like Huawei and so on, but it's just too hard to reach, and all the alternatives, in my opinion, are no 100% replacement. Now, the display, best in class. I'm not gonna discuss it. Yeah, best in class. Speaker could be better. That's I don't really even want to give it a good, because for a good I would want good quality, which is not what I get. So I would say maybe okay. I really don't want to give a phone that is so expensive more than just an okay for the speaker, but therefore the headphone jack is really good again. Then the performance, I will give it a top-notch flagship performance, but not quite. But I have no distinction between these to give it a little bit of a different rating compared to the best of the best flagship performers. Battery, I don't know, on Wi-Fi I would say good, quite good, but on mobile data, okay. Maybe, if not actually 3.5 hours is not really even okay. Actually disappointing. Software, I like it. I don't know what will happen in the future, if it will get slower or so, but I like the appeal, I like the extra features, the S Pen. Great, I will give it a grade easily. Front-facing cam, I would say best in class. Front-facing video cam, absolutely best in class. Low-light cam, also best in class. Main cam, from an auto user mode. So auto mode, easy access, best in class. More features are maybe available somewhere else, but this is what I'm seeing. Maybe the Pixel, of course, the Pixel could change things, but from what we see right now, this is the thing. Video cam also, in my opinion, maybe mostly best in class, because I think the Pixel will offer better stabilization and so on, but the picture quality and so on is absolutely killer. Value, now value is something where I just can't give more than a poor. This is not good value. Of course, if you consider you want the best cam and you have seen a lot of great quality and so on, the quality might be good, and it's not really up to par, up to discussion, because whoever wants the kind of objectively most complete phone, besides of course, like I said, the speaker, which is nothing that really most people will care about, and the battery life, this is a complete package. This is a top-notch phone. It is killer. And if you want the best with the extra options that you have to pay extra, which because it's something you won't get anywhere, is the S Pen with the killer cam, with the killer screen. Yeah, this is the phone to get. There is no alternative. And for all those people, I think this video is worthless anyways, because you do not need to know what I've told you. For all the people who think about maybe I want it, but I don't need the S Pen, now everyone says get the S8 Plus, and I can't really disagree. I kind of think it's not that easy in some way, because if you don't need the S Pen, there are different alternatives. Then you could go for something like an HTC 11, maybe Pixel, maybe Sony, whatever you want. Of course, if you want to stay in the Samsung ecosystem with the software that you like and the cam and so on, yeah, also totally. Now, this was mostly actually objective, because I have to give it to that. This phone is great in most aspects, but here's my subjective part, and if you don't care about my opinion, forget it. But don't really attack me because of it. I'm not the biggest fan of its design. Even though it feels good in hand, it's just too tall. It feels a little bit awkward, and it looks a little bit weird to this tallness. And then performance. If I want the very, 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 very best, I would not go for this, because there are phones that not always run maybe smoother like this one, because this, when it's on top, it's on top. But in most situations it's not, because there is this little bit of jitteriness that I know many people will say I'm stupid that I'm seeing this and so on, but I see it. There are people, gamers, that see 200 frames. There are people that see 60 frames and don't see the difference. I see, and I'm very weirdly attacked by jitteriness. I'm actually okay with a phone that isn't all that maybe smooth, but I don't like lag or jitteriness or anything like that. So that's just something that I want to point out. Then there's the battery life that I just can't really get behind, especially for a phone that expensive, but the rest is killer. So like I said, for me personally, the deal breaker is the price, so the value, the battery. The rest though, I would be fine. But being fine for a phone that costs thousands, where I don't need all the features like the S Pen, I don't need a lot of things, and I don't need a phone or want a phone that big, it is a little bit heavy to get used to that, but I don't know. A video is long. I think I gave you a very well-balanced review. Of course, you can disagree with me, and a lot of people will, I get that, which is fine. But please, stay still. That's all I can ask for. Okay. Until next time, bye.